Hello there and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon what time of day it is you're listening to this recorded webinar. We're glad to have you with us. And my name is Brian Allen. I am a senior consultant with Career Management Partners. And it'll be my pleasure for the next hour for us to join together in an exploration of your full potential and discussing some things that you may be needing to think about in order to unlock your chains, to allow you to rise in the world, in your work situation, to levels that you have not before. And something about this title caught your attention and brought you to this webinar, and I'm very glad that you're here today. Let's go ahead and proceed. Here's what we'll be talking about today, essentially 5 major aspects of you: your attitude, your journey that you're on, your dreams. In other words, what's your journey taking you toward? Your transformation, or the changes that we all would need to go through in order to reach our goals. And then lastly, your team, those people that you need to surround yourself with in order to help you to reach not only what you want, but also what you may want to aspire to. So we'll talk about each of those things in some detail. This webinar is part of Career Management Partners' Career Engagement series of webinars, which are designed to energize your job search, your approach, infuse you with new energy, and to accelerate your efforts to achieve your goals. So some of the titles that you may find in this series of webinars, in addition to reaching your full potential, we have one on advanced interviewing strategies, another on career assessment, another on creative methods for finding jobs, and one on working with recruiters. So that's just a little bit of a commercial announcement for the program that we have. These are above and beyond the more routine or typical resume interview networking kinds of webinars, which we also hope you attend, but these are at a different level. These are a level to engage your career in a new level, new direction perhaps, or to a new level of success. Okay, end of commercial. So we often begin some of these webinars with some words of wisdom to kind of set the pace, and Matthew Kelly is giving us one for today that says, "It constantly amazes me that men and women wander the earth, marveling at the highest mountains, the deepest oceans, the whitest sands, the most exotic islands, the most intriguing birds of the air and fish of the sea, and all the time never stop to marvel at themselves, realize their infinite potential as human beings." That's the kind of thing that makes you stop and think, won't it? Yes, do we marvel enough at ourselves? We are wonderful things. We are unbelievably complicated and rich and challenging and delightful. But do we really consider what our full potential might be? Our objectives for the webinar today then are to elevate and energize you to achieve your goals and dreams, motivate and inspire you to get fired up about your future and job search, make better decisions for yourself in order to live a more productive, meaningful, and rewarding life, and to reach new heights by connecting, or reconnecting, I should say, with what really matters most in your life, and then constructing a new or a renewed commitment to how to achieve those things, and ultimately then to stop simply reacting to life, but instead proactively creating a plan to achieve the personal and professional satisfaction that you desire. All of those things can happen, but we'll have to explore how to make that happen during this webinar. An overall question that I would like to have you think about and perhaps answer is, are you really reaching your full potential? Sometimes feel you work hard, play by the rules, but never seem to get anywhere. I certainly feel that way sometimes. Are you longing for more in life? I certainly want more. I'm not, at one times it's more of this, and sometimes it's more of that, and often it's just less of this. But yeah, I don't have everything I need or want. I think very few of us do. We all want the same thing, really. We want to be happy and achieve more. Well, maybe it's important to take a step back to kind of reassess now and again where you are. Invest time in thinking about yourself and what it is you want from life. And I must say that this time that you are in, and if you're a client of ours, you're in a career transition time, aren't you? Otherwise, you would not have been part of our program. So yes, you're part of a career transition. This perhaps time frame is one of the ideal times to take that step back and to kind of reevaluate and see what it is that if you're pursuing the right things, or if you're pursuing something and you don't know why, or if you have kind of fallen into a habit of doing just enough to get by, and maybe there's more that you could do if you could really latch onto something that energizes you. All of those things are possible. They don't come easily. Perhaps we have to kind of think about them, and that's what this webinar is designed to help you to do. So we begin with you, and specifically your attitude. A ruling goes that if you can change your mind, you can change your results. I think that's very logical. It's not easy to do, perhaps, but it may start with, to get the results you want, you may have to start with what goes on between your ears. And nobody wants to be average. We all have a desire to be successful. But do we expect to be great? Now, it's human nature to want to strive for more and achieve things, but most people really don't know how great they can be. And why is that? Well, we think it's because people set limits because they may not believe enough in themselves, or they don't think they're good enough or smart enough, or that they don't deserve the achievements that they may want. Well, that's kind of getting in your own way, isn't it? And unfortunately, how we view ourselves and how we view circumstances can be described as our attitude. Definitely can inhibit or allow for success. And that's what we're exploring today. Now, you may recognize this individual. He is no longer playing, but that's Michael Jordan. Many consider one of the most gifted athletes of all time, but certainly in the annals of the NBA. As a matter of fact, you may recognize that particular body motion because there's a logo of him in that kind of floating in air about the dunk of basketball that is part of the Jordan Air, or the Air line of clothing, shoes, and other accessories that Nike has made a lot of success with, and Michael Jordan has gotten a lot of money from them for that. You think Michael Jordan ever failed? By the way, he has a wonderful biography that if you ever have a chance and are interested in such things, I would recommend to you. I can't remember the exact title of it, but it gives a lot of insight. And so one of the things he shares in his biography is this. He says, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my career, in my life. And that is why I succeeded. Now that might sound a little contradictory to you, failed so many times, but it's not that he failed is what led his success, is that he did not let that failure stop him. He wasn't afraid, he wasn't dejected. He knew that if he just shot enough baskets, that the more of them would start going in. So that's an attitude about failure that Michael Jordan might be someone we could learn from. And it does suggest to us, that success is really a choice. We may all have the capacity to be great, but do we choose to be successful and to be the creator of our own destiny? Another author puts it this way. He says, your life has a plot. Your years have a theme. You can do something in a manner that no one else can. Make today the beginning of new joys and significant achievements in your life. Max Lucado is a very well-known spiritual writer and Christian. He's a pastor down in San Antonio, Texas, actually. You discover yourself, and you can become everything that you want to be. And really, you were not created just to be average. You were really born to succeed. So how do you see yourself? This may determine how we live our lives. Now, research has suggested that the number one reason people don't succeed or achieve more is because they start out having the wrong expectations for themselves. I can't do this. I'm not good enough for that. This is the self-talk that oftentimes is one of our biggest challenges in reaching our success, is that we just don't believe, or we don't think we deserve. The quality of your life really is inevitably tied to having the right expectations. So are you really expecting enough for yourself, from yourself too? And it could be that you may have to expand your comfort zone, stretch yourself, try something new, or maybe if something makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Think outside the box, not just do the same thing you've always done, but maybe try something new and expect more out of it. If you change your thinking, again, about your attitude, you can start achieving more things that you never thought were possible. And we do become what we think about every day. That self-talk I mentioned a moment ago, you can really manage that. You need to monitor it, but kind of be aware of what you're saying to yourself. But you're the one who can decide what it is you say to yourself and what it is you listen to and focus on and react to. You really want to have no regrets at the end of your life. And if your self-talk, which oftentimes is just echoing what you may have heard from teachers or siblings or parents or family members or ex-spouses or whatever, if you let that keep you down, then you at the end of the time, whatever it might be, those regrets are going to be something that you want to avoid. Your attitude really is everything. The most important job you'll ever have in this world is to generate for yourself the proper attitude that can lead you to the success you want. Now, it's really impossible to achieve greatness if you don't believe in yourself and don't know what your value is. Excellence is a result of conditioning the mind and body to think and operate in extraordinary ways, not just the easiest way, not just the way that everybody else expects of you. Maybe the way that you deserve or that you're just destined to be. And perhaps your level of preparation will dictate the level of success. So have you learned all the things you need to know to be successful? Have you polished all the skills you currently have that you need in order to be most effective in life? Are you ignoring some of the pitfalls and shortcomings and weaknesses that may really be holding you back? Are you just putting up with those, or perhaps have you set a plan to eliminate or overcome those weaknesses or blind spots? All of these things are part of your attitude, what you decide you want, and you can prepare to improve your lot in life. We suggest that you have an advantage in your attitude if you choose an attitude of optimism. And an optimism, of course, is that person who expects good things to happen, the person who sees the glass as half full, perhaps, rather than the one who sees it as half empty. I mean, there's all kinds of cliches out there about optimism. But if you want to have an advantage in life and in business, maybe optimism could be your competitive advantage. That might be the thing that can help elevate you above the competition who may be stuck in a rut of negativity and doubt and cynicism. You want to have an advantage in life and in business, then be positive and be optimistic. You want to achieve more personally and professionally, more happiness and success, you can do those things, but it may require you be willing to change your attitude. Change, not an easy thing. It is up to us, however. So often we allow external circumstances, everything around us or the people around us, to tell us what we think, or to be the person who leads us into whatever attitude we take on because of somebody else. That's really not, we're not in charge of ourselves. We're surrendered to agreeing or following with what everybody else says. What is it about our own attitudes and about what we think about ourselves? So another question to ask yourself, by the way, and I'll ask many more questions about that you need to consider during the webinar. But are you engaging people in living life with optimism and positiveness? Are those words ones that people use when they're talking about you? Or are those words completely foreign to what people know about you? Well, we suggest that is something that you can change, but it's not easy. It's just not a matter of attitude. Attitude is important, but you also have to take some other steps to follow through with that. And that leads us to your journey. What you do on a day-to-day basis to help change your life for the positive, to lead a life with passion and purpose. And it maybe begins with time. Now, here's a reality. There are only 24 hours in a day. That is not something that we have any control out of. No matter how much money you have, no matter what powerful position you may hold, no matter how much influence on others that you have, you cannot create more time. You can, however, be more efficient in the way you deal with those 24 hours. And so that may be something that you could start with as a plan. So think about these things. How much time do you spend on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis planning the rest of your life? Or are you just waiting for it to happen, not planning? Another question, how much time do you spend daily, weekly, or monthly perfecting something? Maybe your presentation, maybe your skills, maybe your character, maybe perfecting one of those shortcomings or blind spots I mentioned a moment ago. Do you set aside time? Do you actually consciously focus on creating something that you want? Or are you just letting time slip by you? Again, our journey is our own, and we can create the future, but we may never really take control of what that future is going to be. It's kind of a mystery to us. We don't know where we're going to wind up because we're just reacting to things. And again, that's not really the best way to have your successful life. Most people want to achieve and experience more, but they never take a step back, put their life under a microscope, and then from that learning, put together a plan to make the future they want happen for themselves. So if you want to live in an uncommon life full of happiness and significant accomplishments, my friend, you need a plan to achieve that. And that can be something we can start today, perhaps. It begins with knowing yourself. Who are you? What are your gifts, your talents, and your abilities? And are you using those gifts and talents and abilities? By the way, gifts, talents, abilities are perhaps a little bit beyond just whatever skills you've demonstrated in the job before. This is often where people fall into a rut when writing a resume, is that they think, gee, the resume should just show a list of what they did, the tasks and duties they performed. And that may have been a sufficient approach 30, 40 years ago when writing a resume, but in today's marketplace, your resume has got to bring forward your gifts, your strengths, your accomplishments, what makes you unique, what sets you apart from any other people maybe applying for the same job. And in my work as a career consultant, I encounter very, very often the person who is challenged by that idea. They really don't know what's good about themselves. They really have no idea what they do well and that others can't. They've never allowed themselves to kind of evaluate or see themselves in that way. And oftentimes, through my coaching, I can help someone to perhaps discover something about themselves that others know, but they never knew themselves, that can really help them to launch in themselves in a direction and to a level that they aspire to. But often it's that you've got wonderful gifts, but the role you're in doesn't allow you to use them. Or you tried using them once and got some bad feedback, and you've decided not to use those skills again in the future. Whatever it might be, you kind of control that. And do your actions reflect what you feel is most important? I mean, are you living your life in concert with or in harmony with your own personal values, the way you think things ought to be? Now, if you've never thought about some of these things and you have no idea, it could be that you need a little self-assessment assistance. And so let me plug in a commercial right quickly here for another one of our career engagement webinar series topics. And it's the webinar known as Career Assessment. And what that webinar focuses on is how you can utilize 3 different assessment tools we already have built into Career Workspace that's available for you right now at no charge, by the way. But that you taking those 3 assessments can reveal things about your skills, about your interests, and about your values that can lead you to an awareness, a heightened awareness of yourself that could perhaps provide you with some tools to do some of the things we're talking about here. I strongly encourage you to look up and consider listening to or taking, if we have the live webinar scheduled in a convenient time for you, the Career Assessment webinar. And it can be a very important turning point in some people's careers, and maybe it's just the right thing for you at this time, especially if the answer, I should say, to these questions on the screen now are foreign to you. So that could be a next step after this is over. But your journey does need to begin with what you know about yourself, and then you determining what your priorities are, what's important to you. Because until we get our priorities straight, everything else is going to be out of order. Personal growth needs to be looked at with precision, careful observation, and honest introspection. By the way, that word honest makes me want to go back for a moment to that. If you're taking the career assessment webinar, it will show you and encourage you to take advantage of the 3 tools built into the career workspace. And when you take each of those assessments, honesty is critical. If you take an assessment with, I should answer this way because I want to be that, you are hurting yourself. You're wasting your time and whoever's time is going to try to explain your results. If you're not being honest, those results are not accurate for you. So sitting down and taking an assessment, commit to yourself, I'm not going to overthink this. I'm not going to be biased based on what I think I should say. I'm just going to give my honest answer every single time. And if you can do that when taking any kind of an assessment, you'll be successful. Okay, end of commercial. The most successful people do know themselves very well. They're familiar with their core beliefs, values, talents, and then they go out and make a life in which those things are at the center of everything that they do. It's hard to do that if you're not aware of what's important to you and maybe what's important to other people. Dan Green suggests that to the world you may be just one person, but to one person you may be the world. Well, maybe you ought to know what that person sees in you and what their expectations of you are. So a journey involves being at one place, point A, where you're at today, but aspiring and planning and working to move to another place, point B, of who and what you will become in the future. In order for you to make that journey, that leap from point A to point B, you have to be willing to know some things. So ask yourselves, what are my talents, skills, abilities, and my faults or weaknesses? What are my obstacles and challenges that I recognize from the past or perhaps that I am involved in right now in the present? What are the things in me that are holding me back? Is it lack of desire? Is it lack of support? Is it lack of belief in me? What is it? Knowing what's holding you back is important, but then also understanding what needs to happen to overcome those things. Just knowing what's holding you back is not as good as knowing what's holding you back and what can help you then move forward past that. So your journey involves you taking some control of the journey from point A to point B. If you want to get from point A to point B, something has to change. And things will stay the same, and you'll stay at point A until and unless you're willing to change some things. In order to change something, you first have to understand why you're doing things in the first place. You really can't get to point B unless you know who you are at point A. You know, positive self-image really is very helpful and necessary to make any kind of a change, because make a change requires some risk. A low self-image is going to avoid risk. A higher self-image is going to allow us to take some risks that can then lead to the growth of image or productivity or success that we desire. So there is a journey involved. But what is the destination? Where are we headed? Well, let's look at and think about our dreams as a way of answering that question. Our dreams are the things that will allow us to change our lives the way we want. And dreams can be very, very powerful. Matthew Kelly writes about this a lot, and some of the points in his books are, nothing animates the human spirit more than the pursuit of a dream. We're most alive and achieve the most when we're chasing our dreams. Now, when someone disconnects from their dreams, their energy wanes, and the days just are about survival rather than significance or achievement. Many of us might find ourselves just getting from day to day. It's because we're not connected to or focused on any kind of a dream. The most highly engaged, and I would suggest also successful people, have a dream and are working towards it. Dreams really inspire us to become the best version of ourselves. Now, I'm not talking about the dreams that happen while we're asleep at night. That's another kind of dream. I'm talking about your conscious, awake dreams, what I would like, when I allow myself to think about my future and what it is that I would like to do or where I would like to be or what I would like to have in life, whatever level that is. That's the kind of conscious dreams that we're talking about. Frankly, there's a whole science of psychology that can talk about what your sleeping dreams are about, but that's not what our purpose is in this webinar. If you think about it, you have nothing to celebrate if you're just maintaining. So what is your dream? That's a question maybe no one has ever asked you. Do you know what that is? Understanding your dreams will make you more productive in your professional life. Your personal dreams will make you more productive in your professional life. Dreams do bring out the best in us, help us reach our full potential. So, again, not just while you're sleeping, but while you're living, while you're conscious, while you're awake, dream big and dream often. And tap into what it is that, I would really love to have this. Now, I would suggest that you not be too wrapped up in simply material dreams. I want that car. I would like that watch. I'd like that house. Those kinds of things. These are going to be more life kinds of situations, not so much possessions or things that you can buy or acquire. But life things. Do you happen to know the dreams of your spouse, of your children, of your close friends and other family members? Perhaps your discovery of your own dreams might lead someone else to tap into his or her dreams. That could be something you could do for them to help inspire them to that. Well, what really is most important to you now, personally, professionally, is really what's going to be revealed in what you set as your dreams. So we suggest these 3 steps. Identify what your dreams are, and then customize action plans to make those things happen. But for each of your plans, because you may have multiple dreams, for each of your plans, set a due date. Now, the due date is not the date that if you don't reach your dream by that due date, you have failed and you'll give up. No, that is not what a due date is about. It's not a deadline, but it is a call to action. Because one of the things that many people find difficult is to have a dream, but then they never get anywhere because they don't really set themselves a date in which to accomplish that. It needs to be a realistic date. It needs to be far enough in advance where you can, do the preparation and grow the way you need to in order to achieve it. However, it shouldn't be a drop dead give up if you haven't reached it. And these due dates are the things that can move back and forth as circumstances change. But you still need to have a date to kind of motivate yourself to take action, because the absence of a date often leads to people to take no action at all. Actually, that's one of the things that differentiates a dream from a goal. Do we set goals enough in life? If you want to achieve your dreams, you need to set goals, and really goals often are just dreams with a due date attached to them. Goals can change people's lives and are the catalyst to reaching our dreams. They give us direction and purpose. And when we set and achieve goals, even small goals, if these are things we can do on a daily basis, maybe weekly, monthly, yearly, these are all different levels of goals that we can set. But when we set and achieve goals, our motivation and our self-confidence go up. So would you ever set out on a long journey without really knowing what your destination was? I mentioned earlier, I think perhaps I was in the travel industry, or maybe I did mention this group. I began my career in the travel industry and often use the analogy of, if you buy a ticket on an airplane for a destination, you know what your destination is. And it might be a little disconcerting if you get on the airplane, the pilot comes over the announcements on the PA speaker and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flight 402. We'll be departing here in a moment, and then we'll fly around east for a little bit, and maybe we'll see which way the wind's blowing and go that direction. And then when we run out of gas, we'll probably have already found a place to land, but stay with us and enjoy the flight." Probably wouldn't be very happy with that ticket purchase, would you? But isn't that not often how we live our lives? We get launched, and then we kind of wait and see where the wind blows and where every other people are going, or what unique circumstances pop up that lead us in the direction that maybe was different than where we wanted to go in the first place. And if we don't have any goals, maybe we'll just go wherever the wind blows. That's not necessarily the same thing as a successful life. We want to be more happy and successful. Maybe the missing ingredient is, maybe what's holding us back from reaching our full potential is that we are not good at, or we haven't tried setting goals. Goal setting is not a natural thing. It's something you have to learn to do. They help you decide what you want to achieve, separate what's most important from what's irrelevant or a distraction. A lot of us can get deferred from our goals by getting distracted easily, or getting on something that really doesn't move us toward our goal. And when we do these things, though, they can boost our motivation and self-confidence. And again, it could be something just small, like, I'm going to make my bed for the next 3 days. Something as small as if you can set a goal for yourself and then achieve it, things can change. Your achievement, your motivation can be increased. So if you do not or have not already set some goals, we strongly encourage you to do so now. And the setting goals will accelerate your career and change your life. But tap into those dreams that you have and find some goals. There can be small goals, there can be moderate goals, there can be large goals. You have all different levels of goals, but set some goals moving you in the direction that you've decided your dream should take you. So, about your journey and these goals, dreams, what is a dream? Identify what that might be. What do you really want out of life? What is going to be required in order for you to be successful and happy and fulfilled in your work or in your personal life? And are you building your life aligning with your values? And are you aware of your values? Maybe that values assessment that we were talking about earlier could be very revealing and important for your success. Am I using all my talents and abilities in my everyday life? Or am I just holding something back or ignoring something that otherwise could help in my success? And what is it that really motivates me? What gets me going? What inspires me? What is it that maybe something inside me that could perhaps inspire others, perhaps? That could be another thought for you. But this is going to require some change, isn't it? I mean, if we're not there now, then change is involved, and that's uncomfortable for most of us. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about your transformation and understanding that change and understanding the transition that may be necessary for you to get what you want. We suggest that you need to become an expert in transition, in changes, and many of us resist or are afraid of or fight any kind of a change. Maybe that's not the smartest thing. Achieving success does require a fundamental understanding of one, yourself, and the challenges and obstacles along the way. Yeah, and so being aware of the obstacles and planning for them is a way for overcoming them. Just being blind to obstacles means you're always going to be reacting to an obstacle that maybe you could have avoided had you been looking for it. That's what successful people do. Now, many people do have an idea what they want, but they have no idea what's going to take to get them there, what the transition will look like. And some people, they let adversity keep them from trying something new. They let a failure stop them from pursuing their dream or their goal. First time out of the block, you try something and it didn't work, then you never try it again. It can be with relationships. You ask a girl out in junior high and she turns you down. You never ask another girl out. That's not right. We wouldn't do that. Maybe we would. But successful people don't let initial adversity keep them. Just like Michael Jordan, misses 9,000 shots. That didn't keep him from making that. I don't know how many shots he did make, but he's in the NBA Hall of Fame and an icon in the world of basketball, obviously. How about other successful people? Do they let adversity keep them from achieving more? What about this guy, Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft? One of the richest people in the world, if not the richest. He could not make any money at first. His first business failed miserably. And today, as being one of the richest people in the world, he's now giving away a substantial part of his fortune. He and his wife have a philanthropic foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where they're giving away millions of dollars for charitable issues all the time. And he's convinced another one of his friends, Warren Buffett, another billionaire over many times, to do the same sort of thing. That's his version of success, not just acquiring money, but helping others by giving money to good causes. How about Stephen King? You probably have read or many of his novels, maybe seen movies or television series drawn from his novels. His first novel was rejected 30 times. And I have no idea if that number 350 million is accurate or not today. This webinar material was compiled a couple years ago. That number could be substantially more now. He's very successful. Steven Spielberg, the movie director, was rejected from film school at USC 3 times. And now Spielberg is considered, if not the biggest, greatest, most money-making director of all time, certainly one of them, worth well over $1 billion. Oprah Winfrey, fired from her first TV job in Baltimore. Now she's worth an estimated 2.9. Again, I'm not sure if that number is accurate or not. It could be even more than that. But one of the richest women in the world. These people all experienced adversity. They all experienced failure. But they did not let those failures or that adversity keep them from pursuing their dreams. They did not let them, they did not stop and just continue with what always had been, because they knew they had to change. And so they were able to be motivated by the change. And change can be a motivator if you allow it to. In order to grow, you do need to take some calculated risks and stretch yourself and break out of your comfort zone now and again. By the way, you know, your comfort zone is like a rubber band. You stretch it, it's necessarily not going to snap back the way it is. It's going to stay stretched out. It's unlike a rubber band, I should say. You stretch your comfort zone and you achieve some, your comfort zone does not come back to where it was. It is now larger because of your actions. You need to do that for yourself occasionally. And don't let your past determine what your future is. Change can hold us back, but you don't have to let it do that. You should maybe perhaps look forward and welcome change, because that's what growth comes from, is from change. It does bring out the best in all of us, because it does test our resolve and our level of commitment. So don't be afraid of change, kind of welcome change, but then let change move you forward. But to do that, maybe there's 4 steps involved in the transformation: commitment, sacrifice, discipline, and strong support. So let's explore each of those for a little bit. If you're going to make a change, nothing really happens until you commit to make that change happen. So you've got to decide what it is you want. Nothing happens without a commitment, but anything worth pursuing can begin or should begin with a vision of what the outcome will be and the commitment to making that happen. That's where, again, dreams can come in. That's where goals can come in. But once you understand what the end result is, then you have a better chance of moving forward. We don't quote him here, but this reminds me of another well-known author, Stephen Covey, author of a great, great book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Well, one of Stephen Covey's 7 habits of successful people is begin with the end in mind. In other words, before you start on your life journey, see in your own mind what your outcome is, what you want, what your goal is, what your dream is. Focus on that and commit to achieving that. Commit to that vision and then start enhancing your life. Now, Vince Lombardi, if you are a sports fan, you probably have heard of him, the coach many years ago of the Green Bay Packers, who's made such a mark on the game that the Super Bowl trophy of the winning team is the Lombardi Trophy. Well, he's written lots of books, and he was quoted as saying, the greatest accomplishment is not in never falling, but in rising again after you fall, which he was talking about physical efforts of falling on a football field. So that holds true for life too. If you stub your toe and have a failure, get up and keep going, is his point. And to do that requires a commitment towards the goal you're pursuing. Then be willing to sacrifice some things. You have to give up some things occasionally. You may have to give up a little sleep if you decide to commit to a goal and that requires you to get up earlier than you did before. That sleep might be part of that. Sleep you miss may be part of the sacrifice. You may have to sacrifice certain creature comforts, television programs or new cars or whatever, in order to have the money or the time in order to do what you need to do. So sacrifice is going to be involved. The fuel that keeps your commitment, however, flows from the sacrifice you make. And anything worth pursuing does come at a price. That price is whatever the sacrifice is. Losers are people who really don't want to sacrifice anything are really never going to move forward. And when they have something that goes against what they want, they just point fingers and blame or expect somebody else to do something for them or consider it punishment. You don't want to be one of those people, and you probably don't need to have those people very close to you either. We'll get to that when we start talking about your team in a little bit. Be careful, however. Sacrificing something that is very, very close to one of your highest values could be a mistake. For example, if you take a job that requires a long commute both to and from work every day, an hour or more, let's say, and you've been used to a short commute, that lack of time with your family, that sacrifice of family time, and especially if that family, as many people find, is one of your highest commitments, that commute, that sacrifice could ultimately work against you. It could work against your success and your happiness and your fulfillment. So be aware of how important something is before you sacrifice it. And number 3 is discipline. We need to have discipline in order to move ourselves forward and improve things. Churchill suggested that continuous improvement, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our true potential. And going back to sports again, you may have heard of Jerry Rice. This is an NFL player. Many consider him to be the greatest of all time. A receiver, one of the best receivers ever. Most of his career was with the San Francisco 49ers. I can't remember what team he went on to before he retired, but an ESPN commentator was asking him once about why it is that he was so successful, and they asked what was his competitive advantage. Now, I happen to have watched a documentary on Jerry Rice at one time, and he was very successful. And later in his career, when this documentary was done, even when he had achieved all kinds of MVPs and Super Bowl trophies and receiving yardage awards and records, and also he was very, very successful. Well, this documentary followed him, and he was the first player on the practice field every day and the last player to leave every day. And that's something he had been known for, and that was something his teammates looked up to him for. When this reporter asked, what's your competitive advantage, his answer was, today I'll do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish what others can't. Okay, so that involves discipline there, right? No, you may not need to have the same level of discipline as Jerry Rice, but you will have to have some discipline to move forward. But don't try to go all by yourself. It's not something you may want to be able to do by yourself. You'll need from time to time to lean on someone else, as do all successful people. The best athletes in the world, those who go to the Olympics every 4 years to compete at the highest levels, they have trainers and coaches, multiples of them, who work with them regularly to help them polish and improve to rise to the level that gets them to the Olympics. The president has advisors. Why shouldn't you? One of the best golfers of all time, won't mention his name, but doesn't have 1 or 2, but has 3 different coaches to help him stay on top of the different parts of his game. All right, so involved in the transition, ask yourself these questions. What's the vision of transformation that you want to have happen, that you're willing to commit to? What are the sacrifices that you might have to make in order to reach that commitment or to be more successful? And do you really have the discipline that you need to make it happen? Or do you need help with that? Is that one of your obstacles? Is that one of your blind spots? Is it you just don't have the inner drive that you could, and maybe someone else could help you with that. And so you may not be all alone in this. You could select a coach, an accountability partner, a best friend, and let them know what you want to achieve so that they can help you to be accountable to doing what you need to do, maybe sharing your steps with them so that they can help hold your feet to the fire, so to speak. That's the sort of thing we mean when we're talking about a strong team. Trying to do all these things all by ourselves in a vacuum, that's very difficult for most people. Impossible for others. You don't have to do this by yourself. You do need, however, surround yourself with a strong support system. So ask yourself, who is it that I know that challenges me in a positive way, I should say, not challenges as in makes me go crazy and I want to avoid them, but who challenges me to be my best on a daily basis? Who is someone that is already achieving something that I could learn from them maybe? self-directed excellence really is hard for most people. And we really only achieve great things on our own for a short period of time. But something like a long-term vision, a dream that we're trying to pursue, success and satisfaction in our life, that's a long-term game. That's something we need to have help to reach. So think about a team of people who are going to help you plant your seed and make it grow into the beautiful flower or whatever it is that you want. Surround yourself with people who will tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. That has been a lesson that many, many leaders have learned the hard way. Because a lot of times leaders surround themselves with people who yes men or yes women or just tell you whatever you think that they think you want to hear, and unfortunately then something goes awry and you're the one who's responsible for it, but nobody told you about it because you didn't want to hear it. That's not what good leaders need to do. That's not what anybody needs. So surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth, people who have your best interest at heart, so that when you do stub your toe or get weak or miss a deadline or start doubting yourself, they can maybe be the one there to say the right thing or to ask you the right question or to stop and pause or to pat you on the back or kick you in the butt or whatever is necessary to help you keep things in perspective. Because that's very different. That will happen. You will stub your toe. You will get lazy. You will start to doubt. You will be willing to give up. And if no one's there to help you keep it, it could all end right there. Now, include people who are going to challenge you in a positive way in order for you to continue growing. And a challenge in a positive way would be what I would refer to as an accountability partner. An accountability partner is somebody that I know and who I trust and respect and who I have approached and solicited their help in me reaching a goal. For example, I could go to someone and say, you know what, I want you to help me to reach my goal. And the goal I want to reach is I want to go back to school and complete my college degree. I have not finished school, and I think that may be holding me back from some of the achievement in my success and my career that I desire. And so I'm going to set a goal to go back to school. I want you to help me. My first step is I've got to research what kind of school and what I want to study, and I want to have had that done by the end of the month. Will you be on my side by being on my case and asking me about my progress about researching schools? Not every day. I'd get angry with you if you were to do it too often, but a couple of times between now and the end of the month, I want you to give me a call or send me an email or ask me when we're in person together, how's it going with you and you're selecting your college and your degree? How's that coming? What kind of progress are you making? If you would ask me that on a regular basis, that would help me to do what I need to do to reach that goal. Would you be willing to help me with that? That's what we mean by challenging you in a positive way, holding you accountable for the things that you have said you want to do. You need to find people who would be willing to do that for you. And it's probably not going to be a casual or a social, or it's probably not going to be someone who you are competing with, whether you know it or not. We do compete. We compete with spouses. We compete with friends. But someone who you're not in competition with, who would be willing to help you reach your goals. The leaders of the free world and the best athletes in the world have personal coaches and trainers. Then why should you be any different? You may want to think about finding someone whose job it is to help you with that, and that is what your consultant's role is. And if the program you're with, Career Management Partners, involves your access to a coach for a period of time, this could be an extremely important thing for them to help you to do, is to hold true to some of your goals. That's kind of the way we're programmed to work. But this could be something that you may need to make sure that that's what you're getting from your coach. But don't try to do this all by yourself. That's the point. You do need a team of people, and there may be multiple people, not all holding you to the same standards, but maybe 2 or 3 people holding you to some professional level and something else on a personal level. But your team, your posse, your pit crew. If you think about it, racing cars that come into the pit, and there's always a team of people willing to attack that car and change the oil and wipe the windshield and change the tires, I should say, add gas, whatever, in all in a split second. That's a pit crew. You need a pit crew like that to keep your car running, if I can use that analogy. So about your team, ask yourself these questions. Who is it that's helping me stay on top of my game? Who do I know? Who's in my life that invests energy into me? Or who is it that's draining energy out of me? And one of the sacrifices that we mentioned earlier that you might be willing or need to be willing to take if you were going to start on a journey like this is that you may need to distance yourself from a friend of some sort if that friend really does nothing but drain your energy. And I don't know if you have friends like this, but I think it's very, very common. I'd be surprised if you didn't. I was at a webinar a training session years ago about this, and someone said friends are either wind in our sails or anchors on our tails. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. There are those friends who do not want you to surpass them, therefore they will do things and say things to try to hold you back where they are, or to keep you from getting as farther along than they are. Those are the kinds of people maybe you need to distance yourself from temporarily. I don't mean necessarily to close them off completely. But while you're in a transition or while you're working towards setting goals, if you've got someone around you who is always doubting or nitpicking or making you feel bad about yourself, or that could be a person you need to put a little space between you and that person for a period of time. That could be an example of a sacrifice that you would be necessary to make. Maybe who are your role models? Who are the people that you know that you have access to, but that you respect, that you look up to, that you think are the success that you would like to be? And not necessarily your heroes, someone out of touch that you've read about or that you want to model yourself after. Not necessarily that kind of role model, but a close by role model, someone who you can learn from, you can talk to, you can get opinions of and advice from. Who might be those people? And those are the people you probably want to invest time in and request their time and their assistance and maybe their accountability and whatever the things we've talked about. But you need to be responsible for and think about who this team might be. Now, we certainly hope that you would consider career management partners as a part of your team. And this diagram suggests that, there's a couple of things at the top there. Your consultant and the Career Workspace website are two of the resources that you have access to while you're part of our team. And our portal you can research occupations, and you can do these online assessments I mentioned earlier. And there's a book about all the great things about job search that we've learned that's in the library that you could download. There's also scorecards that can help you rate yourself in a variety of different aspects of a job search. And then these webinars, and again, there's a whole list of them, but again, the engagement webinars are about staying motivated, career assessment, emotional loss, emotional aspects of job loss, self-marketing, and managing transition. There's just a number of great tools. All of this could be part of how CNP, for a short period of time perhaps, would be part of your team. We hope you think of us that way. All right, so to summarize, your mindset really is everything. If you want to have an advantage, be positive and optimistic, but you control your own attitude. Take some time to get to know who you are. What is it that you're good at, passionate about? What is it that you're lousy at? You need to have both, realistic expectations, and that knowledge of yourself is important. You do need to believe in yourself, know your value, and then be willing to sell yourself. Take confidence in yourself by expanding your comfort zone. Try new things. Take risks, but intelligent risks. Be proactive. Make things happen for yourself. Don't just wait for something to happen to you that you can react to. Like, don't just look for job openings and react to them. That's not the most effective way to have a job search. You can have a proactive job search, but that's the surface. That's the subject of another series of webinars. So for your own life, you do need to have a plan. You do need to work things through. You need to set measurable goals with time frames. They then can be readjusted if you didn't meet them. And you do need to surround yourself with positive, upbeat people who will make you feel good about yourself. Now, some final thoughts, and this is drawn from our own experience of people in job transition. Be careful about this issue. Don't use age as an excuse. Whether it's you're 16 years or 60 years, Age can be a limiting factor if you let it be. It can also be an excuse that is just something that's going to hold you back if you let it be. You really can't change anything about the past, but you can change your whole future. So now's the time to elevate your life to the next level. Don't let that age or the issue of age hold you back or be an excuse. So final question. What will be your next greatest achievement? Hopefully after what we've presented to you in this webinar and what you may learn about yourself as you take some of our other webinars, what you may learn about yourself as you discuss things with your consultant, you need to have a plan to move yourself towards the direction that you really want. We have all kinds of ways to help you to do that. Thomas Carlyle says that nothing stops the man who desires to achieve. Every obstacle is simply a course to develop his achievement muscle. It's a strengthening of his powers of accomplishment. Well, we hope that this webinar has helped to give you some powers of accomplishment that you can take and move forward with. Some references here. It's been our pleasure to be your host for this webinar. Again, my name is Brian Allen. This has been a presentation of Career Management Partners. If you have any questions or comments about this program, we would love to hear about them. You can send those emails to www.careermp.com. We would love to hear about that. This is the end of our program. Thank you for your attention. Best of luck with taking the learning from this and moving yourself forward. And we hope to see you at another webinar soon. Thank you and good luck. Take care. Goodbye.